This is my final presentation for GCPDC. I did do the head tilt every time I said GCPDC. This is just going over my overall experience of the year, and a reflective summary of how I felt will be sort of given at the end. This video will hopefully be about 10 minutes long, maybe slightly less, maybe slightly more, depending how much I disclose. So this is going to kind of take two parts, three parts. The first part is going to be all about my campaigns, how I did them and what I would change, the meetings I did throughout the year and how did they change the way I act in a professional environment, and everything else. So the good, the bad, and the really ugly is going to be a reflection on my year as a 22-year-old working in a university sector. So let's begin. First of all, I thought it would be helpful to go through the breakdown of my times throughout the year. So I have drawn at the top here a pie chart to kind of indicate how I feel I've spent most of my time. So most of my time this year has been on campaigns. This has been a key element. I ran the most campaigns any VPSW has ever run. I think the count is 11, but I will go through them later on. The second most of the time was support. Sometimes this could be a whole week could be given to one student or one issue for a student or a group of students, simply because of the nature of support. They would crop up and I wouldn't be able to timetable when and for how long I was going to be spending on this element of my job. It was a really enjoyable element for the most part, and it did teach me a lot about confidentiality and how to support students. The second most way I spent my time was at the university. That would either be doing GCPDC or at university meetings with either the UEG or student services, mostly student services. This will kind of be covered in my meetings part of the presentation, just to talk about how I feel I've learned a lot about myself and a lot about how to conduct yourself in a professional environment from being in meetings with various degrees of people. And last but not least, it's been the kind of trustee element. I thought this element would be more than it was, but it mainly took form of board meetings and making decisions about DUSA and getting the final decision sometimes on whether things would go ahead or whether things wouldn't. Do I feel this was kind of accurate to the way the job was advertised? Not really. I probably would have thought my time would have been spent maybe 20% of campaigns, 30% being a trustee, maybe 20% with the university, and 30% still in support. But I definitely thought that the trustee and the university element would be slightly more. The campaigns element would be a lot less. But that is something I have learned, that the VPSW does do a lot of campaigns, and I probably did spend most of my time on campaigns because that's how I decided to spend the majority of my time. So here I'm going to run through all the campaigns that I've done. So the first campaign we did was the cactus campaign. This was a campaign that we made up in the office to kind of teach freshers about zero tolerance. It involved cactuses giving away at Freshers Week, and students would have to remember all or most of the zero tolerance policy statement and say it back to us, and then we would give them a little speech on what it was. This fed nicely into Healthy Sex and Healthy Relationships Week, which involved planning a pub quiz we were trying to make it educational but also fun. We also did STI testing with the university every day throughout that week with the University Health Service. We then had the tent of consent on the last day, which involved inviting outside organisations such as Amini, Razak and Women's Aid and Terence Higgins Trust as well. This was to help students know the network of support outside the university. The next campaign we ran was Black History Month. This was a lip service campaign due to some issues that were outside of my control, and we felt it best just to pay lip service for the meantime and support the university with its red card campaign for the football match. Next was November, where we did Mental Health Month. This is when I made a large sort of calendar of events going on throughout the month with a wellness map and a little statement and help numbers inside the flyer we gave out. This campaign I wish I put more into, but it was mainly held up by me waiting for other organisations or other departments in the university to tell me what they were doing. In hindsight, I probably would have just done my own thing and left everyone else to do their own thing, just to try and be a bit more impactful with this campaign. Next, it was World AIDS Day. This day we had Terence Higgins Trust doing STI testing in Doosa. We also had a large presence on campus with a stall and painting the building red with lights. The last campaign of that year was Healthy Study. Healthy Study involved myself and SRC members going into the library with the rest of the Doosa exec every day over lunch, giving out study packs. I made these up with the rest of the Doosa exec to include tissues, sweets, gum, things to fidget with, tea, coffee, hot chocolate, just to kind of give someone that little boost that they would need. So that was the last campaign of that year. The next campaign of January was Refreshers Fair. This is when we were advertising quite heavily for Healthy Relationships Week and the rest of the campaigns that I'd be running in February, which turned out to be 4 of them. So in February we ran Healthy Relationships First. This campaign sort of fed on nicely from the sex and healthy relationships in the first semester, but had a more emphasis on healthy relationships as we launched our Don't Settle policy. I also went down to London to visit King's College London to help them with their Don't Be a Prick campaign. We also did zero tolerance training with societies. We had 204 members of students come and listen to our training that we did alongside Sarah Brown. The last day was also a sort of tent of consent information day where we gave out cactuses. We also took this campaign to 9 Wells. The one after that was Student Funding Week. So we worked with the Student Funding Unit and Student Services to give out soup packs, sanitary products, everything, and took budgeting tips and made a budgeting booklet, which I made along with the SRC. I then ran Alcohol and Drugs Week, which was with Ad Action. This is in 9 Wells and on the main campus, and it was kind of teaching students about the dangers of the signs to look out for if someone's maybe taken too much on a night out and what support they can get. Lastly, we had Housing Week, which was run with our support person Catherine, going to various places doing speed renting. The most impactful campaign I had was definitely Zero Tolerance, Don't Be a Prick, Don't Settle. With everything I just outlined, it was definitely my most impactful. If I could do it again, I would be more organised. I definitely did a lot of things last minute, and that did hinder some things. I think I waited too long to get information from people, to get information from outside agencies, where I should have just gone with it. Okay, next is the meetings. What did I learn about being professional, assertive, diplomatic, and most definitely patient throughout the year? I learned that The most powerful thing as a sabbatical officer you can use is your voice. You're sometimes the only student at that meeting in a room full of university staff, which in most instances do have the mind of the student at heart, but that message can get lost, and it is the sabbatical officer's job, well, my job throughout the year, to ensure that the student voice is really being heard and being listened to. That kind of feeds into the more assertive bit, being professional, I guess. I would focus a lot on the way I conducted myself. Sometimes being professional did mean cutting people off when situations were getting heated. I guess, again, it was teaching me to be way more assertive. Diplomatic, I'm quite a passionate person, so I felt like my passion did feed a lot into the way I responded or the way I wanted to respond. And me being diplomatic with having to listen to someone else's opinion, even though sometimes I disagreed, sometimes it was plain wrong, but I still listened. And I guess that was me being patient as well. I think the assertive definitely fed in because you are the voice of students, and you had to be the advocate for them, and in some situations that could be really challenging. But it taught me a lot about certain ways that you should and shouldn't conduct yourself. The meeting I enjoyed most was probably Equally Safe. I feel like it really inspired me to do a lot of the work I did this year. So lastly, I said I was going to go over how this was a kind of journey being 22. I guess feeding into that is kind of being a girl as well. Quite a lot of the time you are in a male-dominated environment, where you are sometimes to them just a student with an opinion that doesn't matter. I think Dundee's really good though at actually listening to its students and listening to us. I think we set a good tone this year that we worked well with the university rather than trying to fight against them. We listened to both students and the university, so staff are more likely to listen to us and not see us as just being there to cause problems. But it could be really challenging. I think the most challenging part of the year was the trustee element, is that we weren't treated as employees, which was difficult because we weren't entitled to the same sort of support, and we weren't entitled to the same sort of, I guess, security that being an employee has. It was a weird learning curve, and I think that also feeds into another difficult part was just DUSA itself and the way it's run. We were a very professional, active team this year, and senior management, especially Willie and Sandy, worked a lot with us, but there were still so many attitudes that were left not changed, even though we tried our hardest to kind of be kind and as forward facing to as many staff as we could. I feel like a lot of them now know what the exec do, but a lot still choose to ignore it. I probably again would change my organisation of the year and maybe the amount of time I invested into the job. I got a lot out of the job, so much. I wouldn't have learned half as much, I think, if I didn't put as much into it, but I put too much in sometimes. I didn't look after myself. That's why I have put the picture as I've meditated for 38 days in a row. I think I have now meditated for nearly 2,000 hours over that 38 days, because 2,000 minutes, not hours, 2,000 minutes over that 38 days just to look after myself. And I think that's one thing I would stress to the new SABs, is to look after yourself, because DUSA will not do it for you. That is probably my takeaway from this. I'm extremely happy I did it. Would I do it again? No. Would I do it again if I was to go back and tell myself what I've achieved and what I've done? Yes. But would I do it like next year? No. I loved it, but it is something that you put all your effort into, and if you put all your effort into it, you don't want to do it again. You do it once, you do it well, and you do it good. And I couldn't have done it without the team that we had. So this is the end of my GCPDC video, my reflective summary of the year. I hope it sums up what I did, how I felt, and how the year changed me and sort of directed me away from, well, not away, but in a different path to what my degree was, my degree being anatomy. I have now, I can say this, got a job in St Andrews working in student support, which is not, if you told me that when I started in first year, I could have believed it, but I don't think I would have thought that I would do that, but I'm happy I am. So thank you so much.